podcast. We're Steve and Sean here with Worship Leader Magazine.
And today we have a fantastic episode where we're going to be talking with Brad and Rebekah about something that has been done for ages, which is being an artist in residence. But before we get to that, we wanted to thank one of our sponsors, OWC, because they have been sponsoring and helping us because we needed this drive. And we have used it pretty much on everything since, and guaranteed we're using it right now as you guys are watching this to put this program together. And so what is this? This is a 2 terabyte SSD or solid state drive, hard drive that allows us to take all of the information from all of these episodes, which sometimes can be as much
A lot of information.
200 gigs worth of information, which is way more than our tiny little laptops can handle. And so we can put all of that information on here. It goes super quick. And then we actually can edit from this drive. So we plug that into our computer, host our editing software on our little computer, but then all the other information comes back and forth very quickly. Yeah. And so very thankful for them.
It's a blessing.
And so if you need any kind of hard drive, which if you own a laptop or any computer,
you probably already do.
You probably need a solid state drive. And so head over to owc.com. Check out all of their offerings. They've got such amazing products, and make sure that you thank them for investing in the lives of worship leaders just like yourself. So for today's episode, we're talking with Brad and Rebekah.
Brad and Rebekah are sweet friends of ours, and they are worship leaders, amazing worship leaders, and artists.
And so they're doing this thing called being an artist in residence. And so that means they get to go out across the world, really, and lead worship and teach and train. But then they're also part of their local church. And this is a practice that's really been done through the course of church history. Even artists such as Bach and Handel were commissioned by a local church to write the music that many of us enjoy today. And so this model has been popular or less popular, but it can go really well, and it can also be a complete disaster. And so we wanted to sit down with people who are doing it right, doing it well, and just get their thoughts on what you need to look for, why you would do it, what's a church looking for, and just really believe you're going to enjoy our conversation with Brad and Rebekah.
Well, thanks for having us. It's good to see you guys again. We've been doing this music thing, traveling for 11 years.
Wow. And
we started in D.C., living in Rebekah's parents' basement. And they were rent-free.
Hey, you can't beat that.
Yep. And then we moved to friends' basement. And that was like practically rent-free. We paid their electric bill and something like that. And then they kicked us out, but we love them still. No, they moved. So we moved. But we did this for a number of years living there, and it was great. We had a relationship with the church there, similar to what we have in Phoenix now, but just got to the place where we felt like we were on the road so much that we just didn't have any kind of normalcy.
Yeah. Didn't have a church family, didn't have a pastor, really.
So we just kind of talked about, it wasn't like this long prayer and fasting moment. It was just, hey, this would be cool. Like if we could find a place where we could be 2 weekends there, 2 weekends on the road, however it worked out. We kind of asked big, like it'd be great if we didn't have to actually be on staff. We could just come and go as we please and work on the music and all this stuff.
Yeah, so we could still have the freedom to travel whenever. Yeah.
And a couple days later, we got a call from a friend who had worked on one of our older records. And he said, hey, how do you feel about Phoenix? We're like, no, we don't feel much about it. So it took a good 9 months almost, and we just we prayed about it. We went through actually a couple other churches, kind of having the same conversation with, but just asked God to close the doors that we weren't supposed to follow, and we went out there. And basically at that point, it was half of our time there, half of our time on the road. There's no office hours. We can go into the office. We can work there if we want on our stuff. We can songwrite with people there. There's monthly worship leader meetings. There's team nights, all those kinds of things that we are actively a part of. But if we're out of town, it's not an issue. They're excited that we're serving somewhere else. One thing that I love is that it excites them to know that their team is doing something outside of the church, because while it's an extension of the church, it's also something that we get to bring back. oh man, we feel so refreshed by doing this event. We come back energized and ready to serve in a new way or new capacity. So they've been just a great support in that, and even the stuff we're doing overseas. They've come with us on trips, and
Oh, wow.
That's great.
so it's great. Works well. Now we have kind of more flexibility even with our schedule. We can spend a lot of our time there or as little time if we're traveling more. And so it's really
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, very generous.
Very generous.
So for like a church, what are the benefits are they looking for, in an artist? Like, I mean, obviously you're not them, but what do you feel like you're bringing? Like you mentioned, like they're excited about being out. Obviously you bring a level of professionalism and an experience to impart to their team. Are they drawing on that in you at times, or?
Yeah, like, are you training their teams, or are you just coming in and leading? And that's
Mostly coming in and leading. They're looking for just strong, experienced worship leaders. Yeah.
But that work well with their teams.
Like with a pastoral heart that work well with people and love people and
Well, it is really hard to find that because I know.
We've had lots of job offers everywhere for that.
Because so many pastors are looking for that thing. They're like somebody that can stand up, who knows how to lead people, who knows how to connect with people.
Yeah.
Right.
And for artists in general, I mean, that's what makes them good at that, is because they're out there, and you guys have traveled now for so many years. Like, you're not going to keep traveling if you're not good at that.
Yeah.
So
No one's gonna want you back.
This is true.
Right.
If you're not nice.
No, I think that's a big part of it, is that we could just come in and lead and leave, but that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they want to know that we're connecting. And honestly, what we do out on the road in churches is a big part of it, is connecting. It's,
yeah.
I mean, whether we're bringing our band and we're working with their tech and support team at a church, or we're bringing just us and working with their team, there's all of those communication things that no one wants to work with a guest if they're a jerk, or can't handle conversations, or
not patient,
work through a hard moment, or any of that stuff. And then same thing with if we're out at the merch table and we're talking because we love to connect with people and encourage people. It's the same thing at a church. And the way that the church in Phoenix is set up, there's multiple sites, so we're at different campuses and all that. So sometimes it feels like you're out on the road because you're meeting people you maybe haven't met before. But after now it's just been 5 years, you're like, we've connected some more with this person or this person.
Yeah.
So when you guys are out on the road, what does that look like? Are you, going and leading worship for events, or what does God have you doing?
Yeah. Mostly churches on the weekend, their weekend services. We also do events here and there, ministries that have conferences.
Women's
We'll go and
conferences.
lead worship for that. Yeah,
Super fun for all the guys.
Yeah. Women's conferences.
I always forget we need to bring single guys to those events.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The last event we
We're
had,
bringing all
our
married
poor bass
guys,
player, he's married, and he got approached by, I know someone. He's like,
Because he looks
I'm
very
married.
young. He
I'm
looks
married.
too young
It's
to
like
be married.
right
You just
here.
have to
I'm
walk
married.
out with this as you enter the stage.
Yes.
Well, we're just really trying to be real, because
Yeah.
it's real life what you guys are doing. Like there's an interesting aspect of what you're bringing that people are wanting, and to be able to meet those two in such a creative and way, because that kind of stability for an artist is
It's huge.
I mean,
Well,
So huge.
And you see it when, like, the day to day, it's life. It's just normal life. I mean, we're home doing our thing. We're not like all just in a circle hanging out every single day, that the people that work on staff full time, they have their job, and we're taking care of our stuff. But you see it when things begin to change, like when Rebekah got sick, when one of our kids fell on the other kid and had to go to the emergency room. All of a sudden, someone answers the phone and comes and picks up your child from the ER and takes them home and lets them sleep over and make sure they're all good, you know, and
Yeah.
and no one's worried or
The
you know.
things that you would get at a home church with,
Right,
family,
you know.
community. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those things you see, and that's nice to have. Otherwise, before it was like I don't know who to call.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
Well,
just-
one emergency room bill will derail you.
Yeah.
You're like, well,
Yep.
living on offerings and CD sales, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother world. So
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So talk to us about your work that you're doing in Africa. And 'cause I know that's a big
work.
part of what
Yes,
you're doing.
it's a huge part of what we do. A couple years into, maybe even just a year into us traveling and leading worship, we wanted to pour into another ministry. So it was the same situation. We didn't even have time to pray about it or ask God about it, and someone called us. And
Yeah, be
it
careful when
was
you
just-
decide to like God always
Think
knows
about
your
it.
heart, and it doesn't. You don't have to get on your knees and pray. You've already kind of spoken it, and He's like, "I got it. All right, let's go."
Well,
you
I
know?
mean, it's him that put the spark there,
Yeah.
really. And so I think he was just preparing us. He's like, I have something coming your way. Because that's exactly
go.
what happened. So
Yeah.
we got a phone call from, he was a professor at North Central University of ours. He did the studio stuff, and we'd become friends with him and his family. And he was in the middle of producing one of our albums. And he called and he was like, I am moving my family to Uganda. I can't finish your project. We're like, great.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Also,
Also. And so I think it was shortly after that he said, do you want to send money to our ministry? And Brad was like, sure, we're living in Rebecca's parents' basement. We'll send you some money.
So I'm canceling
we
on
don't
you.
know. Yeah, I'm canceling.
Can I have an
And I'm
offering?
gonna have
right? Yeah.
some- Can I have some money? Yeah. So we started sending just wherever we would travel, just a small portion of CD sales to Watoto.
Yeah.
So it's Watoto Child Care in Kampala, Uganda. They care for, right now they have 3,000 orphans in their care. They adopt orphans from in country there, and they raise them up in, they have a mother in a house with 7 siblings that they grow up with, a mom and siblings. And they're in a whole village with a whole community. And of course it's Christ-centered, so they're getting the gospel, and all of their needs are met.
And are any of them ever like adopted anywhere else?
No,
That this is like their
so the
home?
ministry adopts them. So
Wow.
so they are adopted, but by the ministry.
Yeah.
So they stay native.
So they're staying right
Yeah.
there. And the mission statement of Watoto is to rescue, raise up, and rebuild. So
Yeah.
they're rescuing the children.
That's
They're raising them up in godly character, and then they want to send them back out into the country of Uganda to
Rebuild the nation.
rebuild
Yeah,
it.
be the leaders. That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah, so we've been doing that for
Yeah.
10 years, supporting them, and then I guess 2015 they asked us to host. So we've been sending a bunch of gear. They're like, "Hey, the gear's great, and we know we asked for gear. Also now,
we have a new request.
can you help the kids learn how to use the gear better?"
Yeah, wow.
And so we brought 12 people the first year, some worship leaders, pastors, and musicians to just train. And then they started a full-on worship academy that runs year-round.
Wow,
And
that's
now
amazing.
this year we'll do our sixth camp. And last camp we had 26 leaders from all over the world. Just
Wow.
We've expanded now to videography and photography and dance and art, live sound production, public speaking,
Vlogging.
preaching, vlogging. It's crazy, and we feel so honored. The amount of the talent that we get to work with that comes on these trips is just, it blows my mind every time I look at the list. I'm like, wow, oh, okay.
And also the
I have to
talent.
tell them what to do,
I know.
Okay.
I know. You guys know what to do.
and they all come so humbly. So we're
They
very
do.
fortunate.
And the talent just in the kids that are there that are coming to the camp, that's also very
Yeah.
humbling because
Yeah.
you feel like you're witnessing like this sacred thing that God has placed inside of them, and they come from such a horrible backgrounds.
Yeah.
God has put this amazing gift into each one of them, and we are getting to steward like how to train them up in that, and it feels kind of like, am I allowed to be here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like yes, I will offer whatever I have to give to you, but like you are so talented and your story is so powerful. like just like drink it all up and go and do amazing things. It's really something. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about your new music, because you're constantly putting out new material, or at least it seems like, as I'm checking through and keeping tabs on you guys from a distance. But how much are you writing for now your local church? Is that inspiring you? And then obviously you guys are inspired as you're going to Africa and the different places, but how has that affected your music? Or are you writing, you mentioned writing with the local church. And
Yeah, I think, I don't think of like segments, like I'm writing for this or writing for that or writing for that. I always just think writing for the church. And if
As a whole.
As a whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if something hits, like we have a new song called Rejoice, and we released that recently, but it wasn't written, it was just written.
Yeah.
For no
For-
purpose.
yeah.
necessarily.
There's a bigger story with that, but we showed it to our church and they loved it and wanted to do it, so they actually released it first. But it was a big part of our story, so it made sense to also do our own version and
Yeah.
switch it up a little bit. It's not live, it's a studio version, and just felt right.
Yeah.
I don't think every song's going to work that way, but we write with the church in mind, and then where it fits, it fits.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that makes the most sense for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. So when you're doing your songs, so do you sometimes get surprised when you're like, this works so well at home, and then you go to Pennsylvania or whatever, or have you felt like after all these years it's locked in? Or?
I don't. I'm really careful before we take a song out on the road. I don't want to. I want to be a win for a church.
Yeah.
I want to come in and very confidently say, trust me, I know this works.
Yeah.
Even though that your congregation hasn't heard before, I know we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm very careful. Like, even if it's a song I love and I know I like it, doesn't always mean everyone else is going to
Right.
like it. So we take a small amount of
We
songs that we
test
actually
it.
do
Yeah.
live, for that purpose.
Well, I know a lot of people are going to watch this and think, okay, how do I get a job like these guys have, where I can pursue artistry? And I think more than anything, what people are needing to grow in is, how do I connect with the people that I'm leading? Instead of just being up there singing a song, there's something that you guys are doing, obviously, that is making another church or multiple churches reach out and say, hey, there's something we want from them. And obviously there's anointing, there's experience, but can you give us some tips, or really give all of us worship leaders some tips on how do we connect better with the people?
Well, connecting better with people, I think, is just being real.
Yeah.
It can be easy to put on, like, okay, I'm here, this is what I do. Now, I'm not saying be real, like, you've had that really bad week and you decide to break down on stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's a balance here, right? Like,
But
might...
people think it's like, I got to be professional, I got to have my stuff together. There's like an artist mentality, but you're saying like...
I mean, if I was to look back when this was year 2 of what we were doing, I wouldn't hire us to do what we're doing now. I'm very fortunate that people opened doors back then and said, come on in, and let us make mistakes and let us figure it out. For us, it's just been part of the journey. I think it's very easy to look at someone else's story and say, oh, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I mean, we were very clear on what we felt like we wanted, but it wasn't going to derail us from what we were doing in the moment. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's okay, that looks like a great idea. Let's aim towards that. Let's just keep our ears open, have conversations, be listening for that with pastors, maybe, I don't know. But right now, we were still in DC. We were still serving a church once a month there and traveling, and had a very full schedule, and we were serving in Uganda and all that stuff. So that's just what we did. And then the phone rang. And now, doesn't mean you can't have conversations, but there's something about, like, pushing something that shouldn't happen
that's
that
good.
never really works. I mean, we've done that with events too. It's like, oh, we really want this, and you're like, why did we do that? We probably shouldn't have. So I would just say, be be patient, be prayerful,
Yeah.
but still be purposeful in what's happening in the moment. I remember years ago, I got together with a worship pastor. I hadn't met him before, but he was new at a church that we'd been to. So in order to like come back to the church, we had to, even though we'd been there multiple times and served them, we had to kind of start this new relationship
Yeah.
with him. And he kind of asked me some of a similar question. I was just like, for us, like, I'm content serving in whatever capacity God has me in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't want to do more, but I want to feel this, like, this is right.
Yeah.
So I'm content. Like, not in a down way, like, okay, I gotta be content with this. No, like, wow, I should be content here because this is an awesome moment, even if it doesn't seem that way.
We've always been trying to keep our focus on how to serve the church.
Yeah.
Whatever church we're visiting and we're a guest for, we come with the things that, like a program that we would bring and the things that we would like to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we share it with the church. We think this is what we'd like to do, but ultimately we're here to serve you and what's going to best serve your church and your body in this moment. And what we do at a church on a weekend looks different from one week to the next, one weekend to the next, one church to the next. Sometimes we'll do a workshop. Sometimes we'll just do a night of worship. Sometimes we'll just do a special in the church, in the service, and lead worship with their team. Just being willing to be used how God needs you there and how they need you there.
Yeah.
It's a
I
big
think
difference.
that's huge because
Yeah.
a lot of artists see events as like a stepping stone, or this is like, I'm using their congregation for me and my CD sales and our dollar number per person that's there versus coming in to serve. And pastors are divinely guided by the Holy Spirit to figure out who's who. And so I mean I would believe is a big part of why you guys have been so successful so long.
End of the day, our heart has always been to be a blessing, not a burden.
Blessing, not a burden.
For multiple reasons. One, the obvious. I don't want to be, they were a jerk. But also because there's many churches we've been to that have never had anyone in before. And we get to be the first. So we get to
set the tone.
Set the tone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means it's like, oh, so that's cool. But we could, you have to like help the situation along but you have to find the way to do that in a positive way. So again, you're a blessing to them, to the next person that comes through, but never a burden. And I think God honors that as we serve those that have said, "Hey, come on, you can come into our building and be part of what we're doing."
That's such an
That's
honor.
a huge honor.
That's a huge honor. And I think of that every weekend when we're home in Phoenix serving. Like we've been. What an incredible opportunity. Come on in, serve alongside of us, but then go out and serve the big church. Wow. Okay, thanks.
That's amazing.
So
That's awesome. So how do people connect with you if they want to bring you in, or if they want to know more about your music? What's the best spots?
our website, bradandrebekah.com, REBEKKH. We're on Instagram, Brad and Rebekah, Facebook.
All the stuff.
That's it. We have a booking form on there, and there's never an event too small. It's some of those are some of our favorite.
They are.
Yeah. Well, when you're being led, then you end up at the right place. And
Yes.
So that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll be right back as Brad and Rebekah share one of their very funny worship fails.
So we were in college and leading worship and finished leading worship and sat down, and then I remembered where my phone was, and it was on the stage. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the speaker's message, Reggie Dabbs, my phone rang, and he answered it, and it was my mom. So
Don't leave your phone on.
Don't leave your phone on the stage. You never know who might answer it and have a conversation with your mom in front of everybody. So.